Okay, so here we are.
Hi there.
Hello. I'm Katie Nielsen, Art of Adaptation Festival Coordinator, here with the one and only Jordan Mann.
Hello.
Fantastic person. He won the Art of Adaptation Festival last year, 2012, with his adaptation of Isaac Asimov's Liar! I say that because it had an exclamation point.
It did have an exclamation point, yes, and it's part of Asimov's series of short stories that have become to be known as I, Robot.
Yes, and it was fantastic. And had one of the best makeup designs in like Art of Adaptation Festival history.
Which was mostly actually Lee Russell, the actor playing Herbie the Robot, actually was mostly responsible for that. So I think that was really a great example of a very collaborative relationship between the cast and Beth Wolf, our director, and myself as adapter. But it was really everybody really brought something interesting into the work, especially Lee with that makeup design.
Oh my gosh, he looked amazing. He was really just fantastically captured robot with his body language, his face. He drew on these pointy little sideburns.
It looked a little bit like a Bob's Big Boy.
Yes, it did.
Well, and it worked nicely because one of the things that Beth and I had agreed to when we were working on the piece is that while iRobot is about sometime in the future when there are artificially intelligent machines, robots that are capable of, thinking in ways similar to humans, that Asimov was writing these stories in the 40s and 50s, so we like the idea of it being a very 40s, 50s design aesthetic. So, I said I don't want any futuristic clothing. I want the men wearing bow ties and sweater vests, and the main character, Susan Calvin, wearing very austere clothing that would be what someone in the 40s or 50s would wear, because she's actually a fascinating character in the history of science fiction in that she's one of the first kind of feminist science fiction figures who's not like a warrior princess, but she's an actual female scientist, so she's in many ways a groundbreaking character.
One of my favorite things about her in the play is she kind of has the hots for a fellow scientist, and there's this part where Herbie the Robot, it's called Liar because the robotic code?
The robot, Herbie the Robot can, for reasons unbeknownst to anyone, read minds. The robots have what are called positronic brains, which are incredibly complicated, and Herbie is this design fluke. It's a robot that can actually read people's minds. The problem is, as we learn in the story, robots are bound by what are known as the three laws, which are a robot cannot hurt a human being or through an action allow a robot cannot allow a human being to come to harm, or either directly or through an action. Also, a robot has to obey orders given to it by a human being, and a robot can also protect itself. But essentially the idea was that Herbie the Robot gets stuck in, you could argue, a quandary, because it knows what people are thinking. And when people ask it questions, Herbie knows the truth, but he also knows that telling the truth will cause people harm.
Right.
So Susan ultimately winds up destroying him by presenting him with this sort of logical fallacy that he can't get out of, and he basically self-destructs.
Yeah. And what happened, back to like the feminist character that I loved about her, was he had told her that the fellow scientist was in love with her because that would make her happy, and to tell her that he wasn't would harm her, so he couldn't do that. And so she was very like sciencey, just not pretty per se. And then after that scene happens, she comes on to the stage in this bright red lipstick, like trying to look pretty.
Someone who's she's described someone who doesn't wear makeup and would never wear makeup, trying to be feminine. I think another great casting decision, and again I have to give Beth my director, enormous kudos. One of the choices she made was to cast Sheila Willis, who I know did Peyton Place here, and we captured
We've always lived in the castle.
We always lived in the castle. And what's kind of fun was Sheila, as getting to know her as a person, is such a warm and just a warm and kind person. So it was interesting putting her in this very cold and severe role.
Yeah.
Kind of created a very interesting nuance that you might not have seen with a different actress. But it was interesting to see just how hurt she could be, despite the fact that she's described as being this very steely and icy woman.
Oh yeah, she pulled it off great.
She did.
She's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking about your fantastic, wonderful piece.
Mm-hmm.
Winner of the Art of Adaptation Festival 2012. We are going to have the Art of Adaptation Festival 2013 this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Come check it out.
Be there.